Yeah, so when we're talking about resource mobilization, if you can see on the screen, so there was lots of problems to find the resources for the whole nation, and so some more program or planning must be chosen for the distribution, and it was felt that the choice of the development projects should be for the social benefit. So such kind of projects should be done where there is a social benefit rather than profitability only for the private people, and also it should be equally distributed, and there must be profits instead of private. So privaters should not benefit from these resources. It should be publicly given to everybody, so that is why they thought of investing projects for the whole country, for the whole society. It should not only be that because if you invest for the whole society, and if there is an investment project for the well-being of the public, then the resources will be equally distributed and the private people will not have all the resources in their hands. So this was a very good innovation, or very good understanding by the planning commission in India, and they thought that like how we can do it, and we should see that there should not only be for the profitability, not should not be for the private people only. The profitability should be equally distributed to the public also. So that is also very important. Okay, so now we'll come to the next section. So let me rub this. Yes, so now what we have understood, so let us talk about the features. Okay, so we have spoken about rationale of planning of India. Now we will talk about is the feature. So features of Indian planning. Okay, so these are the features. When we'll understand the feature, so first let me just keep on writing, and then I will explain to you. Okay, the planning of India do not carry the burden of compulsion. So what is compulsion? Like any force, okay, okay. And so there is no force. The best part is that our planning is very flexible, so there is no, like it's not done forcibly. You have to listen to the planning, as found. So generally you find it in the socialist countries, as found in the socialist and communist. I had already discussed with you about Cuba, China, North Korea. you know Now initially USSR was also having this kind of a rigid planning, but now they are democratic. So generally you find these kind of plannings in Eastern Europe, okay, then China, and then you find in Cuba, okay, etc. So these are the countries generally. So planning of India is not having any burden. You can, very flexible it is. It's for the mankind, for the community, and you don't have any force or compulsion. The government doesn't, like dictate or dominate its subjects. Okay, so as found in the socialist and communist, like whatever the government is planning, you have to adhere to the rules. You have to abide the rules. You cannot go against this. So this thing is not there in India, and it's very, very flexible. Okay, next thing we will say, although there's one thing which is very important, that India does takes its roots from socialist countries also, because as I said, India is a mixed economy. So India has taken some good things about the socialist countries, and they have done the planning in such manner. It's like a 50-50 ratio. So something from the capitalist and something from the centralized kind of economy, that is the imperative planning. So it attributes its it has the good qualities of socialism in it also, and equity also, because in socialist country the two things are very important, that is socialism and equity. So this both have been derived in Indian planning by the socialist country. So you cannot forget that India planning definitely has the key points from derived from the socialist countries. Okay, let's come to the next one. Yes, as I was talking about it, so I will write the next point here. You can write, you can remember then. Indian planning has been derived from socialistic Okay, I can write socialistic approach also, you can write, or socialistic, or socialism. Okay, and here if you remember in planning, equity, so equal is very important, so equity is given the topmost priority. Okay, and the next point, yes, it is a mixed economy, so how can we forget that India is a mixed economy. Okay, so Indian planners, they chose the mixed economy where there is a mixture of private sector, and they are allowed to operate freely, so the government interference is also there, and the private sectors also can move freely, and they can, choose their way of trading, and collaborating and operating, so they are free to move, and that is called as mixed economy. Okay, so we, as I said, also the next thing we can talk about is the fourth one. Now we will talk about something about the models, the plan model. So it's a plan model. Okay, and okay, and it's a plan model. It is physical. Why physical in nature? Because you can see it, it's written somewhere, so you can read it anytime you want to. Okay, now what is physical plan means, like how much, physical plan in the sense is that, how much should be allocated. So allocation of land, okay, then capital, okay, then labor, so that is why it is called as physical in nature. So to achieve the desired plans, or targets, it is clearly laid down in a plain documentation. So documentation, I can say, everything is documented. Okay, so it is written in a clean paper, and it's laid down in the plan, they're clearly laid down. The physical plan is being explained, that how much land is being given, how much capital are we wasting on it, what is the labor capacity, so so that is why it is called as physical in nature. There's nothing hidden, and it is clearly laid down in the planned documents. Okay, so yes, I think now you have understood the features of Indian planning. So now let's come to the next one, the key objectives of Indian planning. Okay, so let me write down the heading, the key objectives of planning in India. Okay, so now let me just write down here. So if you can just draw one here circle, and I can write down here is, in between I'll write objectives. So I'll keep on writing here. So the first one is economic growth. Okay, then the second one is removal of unemployment. Okay, third, reduction of income inequalities. Okay, then fourth, self reliance. Okay, then third obviously is poverty elimination. Then is modernization. So we are talking about modernization. Yes, how can, when we are talking about modernization, how can we forget about technology? So technology advancement. Okay, and yes, obviously we need an inclusive, sustainable, like a continuous growth, sustainable growth. Okay, so if you can see, let us just see how many points are there. So this is point number 1. Yes, this is point number 1. Point number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So I've drawn a circle like a chakra, so that you can remember more in a much better manner, so that you remember the objectives, and these are the objectives which are laid down. Okay, so we will see the one by one. Now India's, if you are talking about, so the India's first is, as I said, is economic growth. Okay, so we have to think about economic growth. However, like, we have to think about the profit, or we have to see that all the resources are allocated and goods and services must be produced. The GDP should increase. So yes, economic growth is important. Yes, but it is, as I said, it's like in the trickle down theory, that is not sufficient for poverty. But yes, for development, for the nation, economic growth is very vital. So that is why it comes in the first point. And yes, for economic growth, you have to give jobs to everybody. So obviously it is related, and that is why there must be removal of unemployment. So that should be very important. Then is rural and urban divide. So reduction of inequalities in income, that is rural and urban, and also poor class and rich class. So that we know that's a big gap in India. So that gap has to reduce. The more everybody has money in their hands and they have this purchasing power, then what will happen is the nation will be developed. Okay, yes, everybody should be self-reliant. Nobody should be dependent on each other. And how can you be self-reliant? By giving them proper education, health, and a good job. Okay, so nobody should be unemployed, and that is why that is self-reliance is very, very important. Yes, so poverty elimination, as I told you, that is also very important, because this is a huge gap, okay, between the rich and the poor. So this is also, and there are many reasons of poverty which we'll be discussing in the further chapters also. But one of the major reasons is also unemployment, lack of education, health facilities, and population control. So population explosion is also one more reason, that the government cannot concentrate on such a big population. The government is not being able to give proper allocation of resources to the entire community. Yes, modernization, we cannot be going with the old concepts, so we have to follow with the world, and the new mechanisms have to be adapted. So we have to be modern, we have to be good in our approach, our outlook should increase. We cannot be a narrow society, and that is why I'm giving examples of African nations. Just because they have the thought process is very, very old and ancient, and that is why they are still so poor. Okay, so modernization is very key. At the same time, keeping your culture and going forward with modernization is very important. Technology, yes, technology is very good. IT sectors, learning the new techniques, learning so that innovation increases, and advancement happens everywhere. So technology is very important. And obviously the last point, if you can see, is sustainable growth. So this should continue. So why is it called a sustainable? It's like, oh, 1 year we have finished, we have achieved all the 8 goals, so we stop. No, it is a continuous process. So economic growth has to continue, the second has to continue, unemployment should continue, like to remove unemployment, to reduce the inequality. So this should go on every year and year. Okay, and if this is keeping on going like a circle, then only we'll be inclusive. So what is the meaning of inclusive? It's included. So the sustainable growth should be there forever and ever and ever, like perpetualization, and it should be a perpetual goal for India, that there must be a complete sustainable growth and development. So this were the key objectives of planning. It looks very nice, but it looks very nice on the piece of paper, or when you are drawing on the board, but I don't know how much are the achievements. So let us look at the achievements of planning in India. Okay, so that will be our next topic. Yes, so let me just rub this. Okay, so achievements of planning in India. Okay, now India's development strategy, or if you talk about the commitments and the approaches toward the growth and development, has very much reflected in the plans. Whatever the India's strategy was, or commitments were, or approaches were, what everything could be reflected towards their plan. And they have various plannings which has happened from the first 5-year plan to the second 5-year plan, and in response to the conditions, and every year, every 5 years, because of the response or the conditions or the progress, or what are the challenges of the moment, India has keep on changing its planning every 5 years. Now some of these changes have strikingly become very bold and original. So looking at India's great planning, and it's become so bold. India has taken some risk, in its undertaking, and nobody has taken that. And looking at this bold and strikingly original concept which nobody has done, others have become, started adapting India's planning also. And others, and sometimes India liked something from some other country and India has adapted in its planning. So India is very modest in this. It's become very modest in its approach. At the same time, India was bold and original. So let me write down. So India changes in planning were very bold, okay, original and modest.